Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. My name is Sahera Binti Sahrir and today I will be presenting about one of the most fascinating and complex system in the human body, which is the nervous system. The nervous system is often called the command center of the body. It controls everything we do, from simple action like blinking and walking to more complex functions such as thinking, memory, emotions, and decision making. So now let's begin with the anatomy of the nervous system. The central nervous system, or CNS, is made up of the brain and spinal cord. The brain is the main control center. It interprets sensory information, control body movement, and is responsible for higher functions such as thinking, memory, and emotion. The spinal cord acts as a communication highway, transmitting nerve impulse between the brain and the rest of the body. Next, we have the peripheral nervous system or PNS. It consists of cranial nerve and spinal nerve. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerve which emerge directly from the brain. They mainly control the head, neck, and some internal organs such as the heart and digestive tract. Meanwhile, there are 31 pairs of spinal nerve which arise from the spinal cord. These nerves link the CNS to the body and limbs, it allowing the brain to send and receive signal throughout the entire body. So now let's move on to the physiology of the nervous system, which explain how neurons work to send and receive signal. First, we have the resting membrane potential or RMP. When a neuron is not active, it has a resting voltage of about negative 70 millivolts. This means the inside of the neuron is slightly more negative than the outside. This difference is maintained by the sodium-potassium pump, which move three sodium ions out and two potassium ions in. The RMP keeps the neurons ready to send an electrical signal whenever it's needed. Next is the action potential. When a neuron is stimulated, sodium channels open, it allowing sodium ions to enter the cell. This causes the depolarization, meaning the inside become more positive and electrical impulse is generated. The impulse then travels along the axon, carrying the message to the next neuron or muscle. After the signal passes, potassium ions leave the cell, restoring the resting state. Lastly, we have the reflex arch. This is a quick and automatic response to a stimulus. It doesn't need conscious control from the brain. It involves a receptor which detects the stimulus, a sensory neurons that carry the message to the spinal cord, an interneuron that process it, a motor neuron that send the signal out, and finally an effector such as a muscle that produce the response. A good example is pulling your hand away when you touch something hot. These three processes, resting membrane potential, action potential, and reflex arch, work together to keep our nervous system active, responsive, and efficient every movement. Now let's look at the biochemistry of the nervous system, which explain how neurons communicate and produce energy. First, we have neurotransmitter. These are chemical messenger that transmit signal between neurons or from neurons to muscle and glands. Each neurotransmitter has a specific role in controlling body functions and emotion. For example, dopamine is involved in movement and emotion. Second is acetylcholine control muscle contraction and, and memory. It and is especially important in learning and brain function. Serotonin help regulate mood and sleep, which is why it's often called the feel-good chemical. And lastly, the GABA or gamma aminobutyric acid. It produces a calming or inhibitory effect, helping to reduce anxiety and prevent overexcitation in the brain. Next, we have energy metabolism in the brain. Our brain cells use glucose and oxygen to produce ATP, which is the main source of cellular energy. The energy is generated through three major pathways. First, glycolysis, TCA, and oxidative phosphorylation. Even though the brain makes up only about 2% of our body weight, it uses about 20% of our oxygen and glucose. It's showing how energy demanding it is. A constant energy supply is vital to keep neurons functioning properly, especially for maintaining the resting membrane potential and transmitting nerve impulse. Without enough energy, brain activity slowdowns, leading to impaired communication between neurons and possible neurological dysfunction. So, both neurotransmitter and energy metabolism are essential, one for communication and the other for providing the energy that makes that communication possible. Next, let's talk about Parkinson's disease, which is a brain disorder that mainly affects movement. It occurs when nerve cells in part of the brain called the substantia nigra become damaged or die. This nerve cell normally produce dopamine, a chemical messenger that helps control smooth and coordinated movement. When dopamine levels drop, the brain cannot properly send signal to the muscle, and movement becomes slow or uncoordinated. This leads to the classic symptoms of Parkinson's disease, such as tremors, which shaking of the hands or finger, stiff muscle, slow movement, and balance problem, which make which makes walking or standing difficult. The main biochemical cause of Parkinson's disease is an imbalance between dopamine and another neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. This imbalance affects how nerve signals are transmitted in the brain's motor control center. To manage this condition, doctors often use levodopa or L-dopa, which is a medicine that helps the brain produce more dopamine and improve movement. Another treatment is deep brain stimulation or DBS, which use small electrical impulse delivered through electrodes implanted in the specific parts of the brain. Finally, let's look at one of the most advanced treatment in neurology, which is deep brain stimulation or DBS. DBS is a modern surgical technique used to treat brain disorder such as Parkinson's disease, especially when medication is no longer effective. In this procedure, tiny wires called electrodes are placed in specific areas of the brain that control movement. These electrodes send mild electrical signals that help regulate abnormal brain activity, restoring more normal function. The electrodes are connected to a small device called a stimulator, which is implanted under the skin of the chest. It works just like a pacemaker, but for the brain. The stimulator delivers continuous electrical impulse, which can be adjusted or turned off by the doctor at any time. Did- This makes the treatment reversible or conscious for each patient. The DBS has been shown to reduce tremors, stiffness, and slow movement, it allowing patients to regain better control of their body. It especially helpful for those whose symptoms no longer respond well to medication like levodopa. Overall, DBS improve movement control, reduce symptoms, and greatly enhance the quality of life for patients living with neurological condition. This technology is a powerful example of how medical science and engineering works together to restore brain function and independence in people and movement disorder. I think that's all from me. Thank you for watching.